What's going on, YouTube family? Today we're going to be talking about brand new cars. Now, usually everybody's excited about the brand new cars that are coming out, the new makes and models, some of the new technology that's going to be in some of these vehicles. But what if I were to tell you that there's a large group of automotive enthusiasts that are not only not excited about new cars, but simply don't want them? And it's got a lot of the manufacturers freaking out. Now, it's no secret that new car sales have slowed down dramatically, but it's not only because of the economy, it's because of what they're actually putting out. A lot of people don't want the vehicles that they're manufacturing. So if you love old cars, classic cars, JDM cars, anything that's analog, you're going to love this video because we're about to prove to all your friends that your bucket sitting in your garage is about to boom. So the reason why I picked this topic is because about a year ago, I did a podcast explaining why I wasn't excited to buy any brand new car. And that's why I decided to build my Mercedes 6x6 because I want to do something that was different, unique, and I can customize it and don't have to worry about all this new technical stuff that would absolutely destroy the car. And hopefully my value would go up because it'd be a fun off-road analog vehicle. Now, this was just my sentiment a year ago, but since then I've seen multiple YouTubers literally echo the exact same thing. Now we're starting to see it in the mainstream media, that the general public is not excited about any new manufacturer's vehicles. So let's go ahead and talk about a few of the cars that are coming out and why people are not excited. Now, Lucid Air is coming out with a new SUV. I can't remember the name of it, don't care, but same thing, people just simply don't want it. Now I know you guys are like, oh, well, that's EV, lucky, it doesn't really count. You can pick any type of car. I don't care if it's Honda, Toyota, whatever. Remember when the new Civic came out and people were fighting over it and they were super excited and everybody wanted it? You know, the only thing that people got excited about was the Honda Civic Type R. And then it went way up in price, then nobody bought it, and then it dropped down in value, and it's still sitting there, and people are still struggling to buy this thing. Even the new ones, they look kind of cool, but there's just no desire. People are not talking about it. I remember when the Lexus IS300 came out. That thing basically exploded the internet. Everybody was freaking out. They were talking about it. You could not go anywhere that loves JDM cars and not hear about that vehicle. Now, fast forward to today, the same sentiment is not appealed in any other vehicle. I always talk to people like, what do you think of this new car? What do you think of the new Honda Prelude? The new Honda Prelude is going to be a hybrid, and it's only going to be an automatic compared to the older ones. Like, there's nothing to get excited about. Now, Supra kind of captured some of the things back, but still not really quite there. But that just shows you that, you know, there are some companies that know what their customers want. They're just simply not bringing it to them because they're so worried about advancing their technologies or adding to their 0 to 60 times, like Porsches. Everybody wants a Porsche that's stick. Nobody wants an automatic. So even though the stick is slower and not as fun, now Porsche's realizing that they made a mistake. They're starting to bring back some of the sticks. I know there's companies, I believe in Europe, that are actually doing swaps to actually convert them over to manuals. But that's what I want to talk about today. We're seeing a lot of people basically give up on brand new cars to go for older cars. And the perfect demonstration of this is the exotic car market. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Ferrari SF90. Now, when this car came out, it was extremely hyped. It's insanely fast. It's a very sexy looking car. And during the pandemic, people were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to get their hands on this new premier supercar. And so typically with Ferrari, if you buy one of these cars, it's always guaranteed to go up. Love Ferrari, the Enzo, anything like that. People buy them, they hold on to them. So everybody was speculating, thinking that the SF90 was going to be the next thing, and people were going to want this, and it's going to be extremely desirable. But unfortunately, since it was a hybrid, nobody wanted it. All of a sudden, the speculators were left with a massive bill that they didn't want to pay. I'm starting to see these things go from $1 million all the way down to the low sixes. I've seen some even below that because they have a little bit more miles. But that kind of shows you the sentiment of that particular car. And the reason why I bring this up is because, like I said, you should never ever see a brand new Ferrari going for less than MSRP. It just simply doesn't exist. They make them in very limited quantities, so this way it keeps demand high while keeping their owners of these vehicles extremely happy. But even though there's not a lot of these things on the road, you could see tons of them, even on Car Gurus, for sale. Why is that? I don't think those type of people want to hear a hybrid motor. They want to hear the rev of the actual naturally aspirated V8 or a naturally aspirated V12, you know, which Ferrari is known for. I can't explain it. When you hear a naturally aspirated Ferrari, it's a beautiful thing. It's like a song note. Now, the reason why I decided to not get a Ferrari and I went with Lamborghinis because the same thing. I love the sound of the Lamborghini. I had an Audi R8 and I had a Lamborghini Huracan. Both of those had the exact same V10, 600 horsepower. Thing would scream at like 7,000, 8,000 RPMs. It was a beautiful sound, but it was naturally aspirated. This is something I liked. Now, fast forward to today, all the new Ferraris are all turboed. Now, it's kind of funny, but some of the older Ferraris are going up in value compared to, let's say, the 488. Now, the 488 is a great Ferrari, But if you get a 458 or even a 430 that's a manual with all this other stuff, those go for more than the actual newer 488, which is crazy. People are starting to realize that the analog vehicles gives you that visceral experience that you can't replicate. I don't care, 0 to 60 times cut in half, like what is it, the Rimac Navara, whatever it is, 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds, but it sounds like a blender. It's not going to get anybody excited. It's one of those things I just can't explain it. I guess the best way to describe it is like having a smoking hot girlfriend that looks beautiful, but just is absolutely trash in bed. I know that sounds horrible and that's a bad analogy, but that's literally the way I feel about it. If you don't have a car that brings out that excitement, that engagement into you, you're just driving something that looks beautiful that doesn't do anything for you, bottom line. And that's the way I feel about some of these cars. Even though some of these new ones are, they're a turbo V6, they're a turbo V8, it's just not the same. And little by little, we're starting to see some of these older cars. Perfect example, the Lamborghini Revuelto. I remember everybody was talking about it, and then they came out. How many videos do you see of them? None. Nobody wants them. Nobody likes them. Matt Armstrong took a bunch of time building this car up, drove it around, decided he didn't like it. I had 2 friends that bought them. They drove around for a little while. They actually sold them and went back to their older Lamborghini SVJs because they appreciate those more and they love the actual visceral effect compared to this newer one. So it's just basically one after another showcase of showing you that people don't want those type of things, especially when you're spending that kind of money. Now, I think the exotic car market is a really great indicator to show you the trend of where it's going to be when it comes to more analog vehicles. Perfect example of this is the Mazda Miata. I know this is hilarious. We're going from $1 million cars to a car that's $5,000, but I can't even say it's $5,000 anymore because I used to buy Miatas at the auction 6 years ago for like $1,000. Nobody wanted them. Where can you buy a $1,000 Miata now? Nowhere. These things look like they've been driven like crackheads, painted 3 colors, wrecked in every quarter panel. They still want $5-6 for them. And you know what? There's still people out there that will buy them every single day because they're fun cars. You get such a fun visceral experience. Doesn't have a lot of horsepower, but it just gives you that feeling of driving a fun sports car. Rear wheel drive, it's stick. I tell everybody, if you want to drive something, even though the Miata is kind of a hot dog car, it's still a fun car to get into. I have more fun driving that than a Tesla Model Plaid. It just doesn't do it for me. Even some of these newer other cars, it's nice, it's beautiful, like the new BMW that's a hybrid. Same thing, it just doesn't do it for me. That Miata, I'll get more excitement out of drifting that around corners, having a little fun, knowing that I'm kind of, dancing on the edge of like danger with drifting that car because it could just snap around, or the car's so old it could just break in half because of rust. But that's some of the fun things about these older cars. MR2s, that's another one. I love the car. I have an 89 in my backyard. Things are great cars. They're so crazy expensive right now. Early 90s Toyotas, the exact same thing. One of the craziest things that I saw is I remember the IROC Z20 Camaros, like the 85s, 86s, 87s. I remember a few years ago, nobody wanted those. Those were in the scrapyard. We were smashing them all the time. Now, if you have a clean one that's a stick, that's a Z28 with the V8, you're going to get all the money for it and then some, especially if you have the original bumper, all the original trim, because a lot of that stuff isn't being made anymore. So it's kind of funny how the cars that were trash a few years ago are all of a sudden becoming popular. Fox body Mustangs. If you have one of those are gold now. Especially, I remember nobody wanted everybody wanted the fastback, but nobody wanted the notchback. And I remember people just taking them to the junkyard. Now, the notchback is the one that everybody wants because it's even more rare than the rest of them, or it weighs less, or whatever the case is. I don't really know. That's not really my scene. But I've seen these things go up absolutely insane when it comes to values, because that's another car I used to buy for $500,000, $2,000, running and driving. And I used to just drive those around because they were a fun car with a V8 with a stick that you could just do donuts and just ram them into the wall, make them drift missiles, and nobody cares. They go for all the money now, especially if you have a clean interior, which is absolutely insane. Nissan 240, don't even have to go there. Those things are absolute shit buckets, but people are still way overpaying for those because the JDM crowd absolutely loves them. Now let's switch up the page and let's talk about trucks a little bit, because most Americans love trucks and SUVs. So if I were to tell you that I only like about 2 trucks, you probably think it's maybe expensive trucks or like my 6x6. It is a Ford Lightning from the 2000s, or I believe it's a 2000 to 2006 GMC short bed step side. Those are the only two trucks that I actually want and I like. And I'm actually looking for a Lightning with a blown motor so I can build it out. But those are two old trucks that are just simply awesome because they're as analog as they can be. They're super fun to tune, they're budget friendly, and they just look cool. If you get one very clean, you can pick up a girl in it, you can go to a date. One of my buddies, he's got a 99 GMC, all original. It's like burnt orange with the step side. It's a 4x4. He takes that thing everywhere. He paid $20,000 for it 2 years ago because it only had 60,000 miles at auction. That thing is an absolute cream puff. Everybody made fun of him because they thought that he overspent for it, but I tell you what, today you can't find anything close to that. I've seen him bring a trailer, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 with low miles, and they weren't even 4x4s like this one. So there's a lot of really great cars that are becoming more popular. Now, on the same podcast that I did a year ago, I talked about the value of classic cars. I said this over and over again. If you want to buy a classic car, we're talking, 50s, 60s, 70s, and maybe some of the early 80s, buy them today because they're only going to get more expensive. The problem is a lot of us, we always do the same thing. Oh, when I get a little bit more money, when I get time, I'm going to buy it. I'm telling you right now, there are people out there just like myself. They're going to start buying every single classic car I possibly could find. I have two buddies of mine, both here in Las Vegas. If there is a 67 or 68 Mustang in this area that's under $10,000, they're buying it. They're either restoring it, making it look cool, or they're turning it into an Eleanor. That's all they do for a living, is literally build these classic cars because that's how many people want them. And eventually, when they buy out of here, they're going to go to California, they're going to go to Arizona. They're just going to keep widening their net. So all the cars that you used to love, the 68 Camaro, maybe a 57 Chevy Bel Air, those cars are going away because they're becoming more popular. And as they become more popular, people are holding on to them. And there's a lot more wealth than there was back in the day. A lot of these people would take these cars, drive around for a year or two, sell them, and buy another car and fix them up. But in today's world, it's the collector era. There's a lot of people that literally will buy this, keep it, and never drive it. They just park it in their garage and it sits there for years, if not decades. So they're not coming back out in the streets until this person either sells them or passes away and their family gets rid of them. So that's why you're starting to see less and less classic cars out there. Now, if you guys remember the good old days of Auto Trader with the actual magazine, I remember buying these things and there was pages, just tons of pages of, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s classic cars when I was a kid. But today, if I get on Facebook Marketplace, there's none. I think I saw today maybe 3 cars under 1950. I saw maybe 1 car that was from the 50s, a few from the 60s, maybe a handful from the 70s, and that was it. So every day it's getting more rare to find these cars. So my advice to you is I think these types of cars are the ones that are going to boom, that you're going to see the most dramatic increase, because the more analog it is, and I'm going to keep beating this over the head, the more analog the vehicle is, the more valuable it's going to become, especially now that there's so much technology out there where when I'm building my 67 Mustang, it's going to be a daily driver. It's going to have AC, traction control, cruise control. It's going to have speed sensitive cruise control. So I can get behind you and it'll literally do it itself. I'm doing all this stuff from a newer Mustang and putting it on there so I don't have to mess with it. So you can make these old classic cars daily drivable, but then on top of that, you have the beautiful classic look, and everybody wants to stand out. So in the world of Teslas, you want to be the one cool classic car standing out. And especially now that you can make them a retro rod and make them reliable, you could buy one of these cars, drive it for 20 years, and it'll still be worth more than what you bought it for 20 years ago. These are the only cars that I'm telling you right now are going to be worth that. You could buy the nicest Mercedes, the nicest BMW, the nicest Cadillac, and in 20 years from now, it's going to be worth shit. But if you spend a little bit of money, you buy maybe a clapped out 69 Camaro, you put an LS into it, you get the drivetrain from, let's say, a Chevy Silverado 1500, stick everything in there, the rear end, get it shortened, put the transmission, the diff. You can get Haltech, they sell a whole computer system with the harness for less than $3,000. Plug that in, you can have a daily driver that can go 300,000-400,000 miles on that drivetrain for under $30,000. And think about it. You can't even buy some of these newer Kias for under $30,000. So please go out and buy these cars, keep them live, bring them back, because my next iteration of videos and stuff I'm going to be doing as we start doing the countdown to SEMA is going out there and buying some of these cars. Now, I already have a few in the backyard that I'm going to be showing you guys in some videos coming up here, but I wanted to share this sentiment because, like I said, I think this is just getting bigger because today I saw that like Hoovy, he's selling his Bugatti. Some other guys, some of my other friends are selling theirs cars. Matt Armstrong, like I said, selling his Revolto. I see more and more people getting away from some of these cars because they just don't do it anymore. And there's something about driving, like it sounds funny, instead of having one Lamborghini, I'd rather have maybe 10 shit buckets or shit boxes that are just absolutely fun to drive. You know, like my stupid, my smart car that does wheelies, my MR2, my Mercedes 190E that's going to be all-wheel drive. You have to stay out for that one. My 67 Mustang. All those cars, even totally pimped out, is still half the cost of a Lamborghini Technica. So just let that sink in. So I think a lot of people are going to be following the sentiment and going to that route. And so I think the new YouTube trend is not going to be the next douchebag with a Lamborghini or Ferrari. It's going to be a bunch of people building really crazy cars. And that was my goal. So that's why most of the cars, everything you see me drive on this channel is something that I physically built. So I'm super excited about that. I can't wait to bring you some more stuff. So make sure you stay tuned. Like I said, I got some really cool builds for SEMA. And if you're here in Vegas, make sure you come down and say hi. We're going to be at the Hankook booth. And I can't tell you where I'm going to be at the other one, but we're going to be having a big premiere. It's going to be out there in the Drift Court, so come see me for that. And that's about it. Please go out and buy a classic car, and we'll see you later.